This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
The time is precisely 1:15 p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. News edited by Catherine Pereira and read by Chandima Veerakon. Headlines. Releasing water from the Samanalavawa to the Udawalawe Reservoir underway. The Financial Action Task Force has introduced 40 recommendations to be implemented by all countries. The Minister of Power says in Parliament today that measures have been taken to provide water needed for paddy cultivation while maintaining the electricity production continuously. A meeting was held between the Governor of the Iran Central Bank and the Foreign Minister Ali Sabri recently. 10 Indian nationals arrested for poaching in Sri Lankan waters. Portugal battles wildfires amid third heat wave of the year. Local stories in detail. The authorities have commenced releasing water from the Samanalavawa Reservoir to the Udawalawe Reservoir for agricultural purposes in the early hours today. Accordingly, the State Minister of Power and Energy, D.V. Chanaka, said water is being released at a rate of 3.5 million cubic meters per day for 3 days. The active water capacity of the Udawalawe Reservoir, which has a total water capacity of 217,800 acre-feet, had dropped to 956 acre-feet as of last morning. This is merely 0.45% of the full water capacity of the water body. However, at the meeting of the Cabinet of Ministers chaired by President Ranil Wickremesinghe yesterday, the proposal put forward by Minister Kanchana Wijesekara was green-lighted to release the maximum amount of water from the Samanalavawa Reservoir to the Udawalawe Reservoir required for agricultural purposes. Further, the Cabinet came to a consensus that alternative solutions should be sought for the national electricity requirement. Minister Roshan Ranawaka said that releasing water to the cultivation land will be carried out this evening. He said that water will be released to more than 40,000 acres of paddy lands that are near to reap the harvest. Financial Intelligence Unit established as per the provisions of the Financial Transactions Reporting Act No. 6 of 2006 and operating as a department of the Central Bank enforces provisions to prevent money laundering, financing of terrorism and other illegal activities as defined in the Act. The Financial Action Task Force is the intergovernmental body that sets international standards to prevent money laundering and terrorist financing. The Financial Action Task Force has introduced 40 recommendations to be implemented by all countries. Accordingly, the Asia-Pacific Regional Group on Money Laundering, the regional body of the Financial Action Task Force, is evaluating whether Sri Lanka is complying with the recommendations of the Financial Action Task Force. Minister Kanchana Wijesekara said in Parliament today that measures have been taken to provide water needed for paddy cultivation while maintaining the electricity production continuously. Meanwhile, the Cyber Protection Act will be submitted to the Parliament within this year. A digital educational policy has been prepared by the Ministry of Technology and Education. Parliamentarian Dayasiri Jayasekara said in Parliament that a debate is needed regarding the decisions taken at the MOU which was signed by the President with India. He stated that the Parliament does not know about this MOU. A meeting was held between the Governor of the Central Bank of Iran, Mohammad Raza Fazin, and the Foreign Minister Ali Sabri recently. Special attention was focused on increasing the financial and banking activities between the two countries. The Asian Recommendation Association has rendered a significant role on enhancing the trade relations between the two nations. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
A comprehensive banking services package with a branded checkbook as well as debit and credit card exclusively for you.
Continuing with the local stories, the Sri Lanka Navy yesterday seized an Indian trawler with 10 Indian nationals aboard for poaching in Sri Lankan waters off Alampil in Mullaitivu. Accordingly, the Eastern Naval Command deployed a fast attack craft of the 4th Fast Attack Flotilla to chase away a cluster of Indian poaching trawlers after having spotted they were engaging in illegal fishing in Sri Lankan waters off Alampil in Mullaitivu last morning. The trawler and the apprehended foreign nationals were subsequently brought to the port of Trincomalee and are due to be handed over to the Assistant Directorate of Fisheries Trincomalee through the Sri Lanka Coast Guard for onward legal proceedings. The Ministry of Health says that they are in a stern alert on the new COVID variant being spread in the United Kingdom rapidly. The Ministry has issued warnings about this new variant. To conclude the local news, the headlines again. Releasing water from the Samanala Vaver to the Udavalave Reservoir underway. The force has introduced 40 recommendations to be implemented by all countries. Minister of Power says in Parliament today that measures have been taken to provide water needed for paddy cultivation while maintaining the electricity production continuously. A meeting was held between the governor of the Iran Central Bank and the Foreign Minister Ali Sabri recently. 10 Indian nationals arrested for poaching in Sri Lankan waters. That ends the local news for now.
Elevate your life with People's Bank Excelsior. A comprehensive banking services package with a branded checkbook as well as debit and credit card exclusively for you.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Taking a look at the main news story, Minister Mahinda Amaravira says that the government has decided to pay compensation for the cultivation damages of the farmers due to drought weather conditions. Accordingly, 100,000 rupees will be paid per hectare of land. He also stated that measures will be taken to increase the compensation further. The minister has given advice to the chairman of the Agrarian Insurance Board to take speedy measures to the people who have affected by the drought. That ends the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Watch Life is brought to you by
CIB Janajaya Vasana. Unbelievable discounts and offers throughout August from CIB Janajaya Vasana. Come today itself.
Moving on to Watch Light, the farmer communities have requested the government to provide irrigation facilities for the cultivation activities in the Monaragala, Hambantota and Ratnapura districts rapidly. They stated that more than 40,000 farmer families have been affected due to non-receipt of water from the Udavalave Reservoir and the Chandrika Vaver. It has been requested to pay attention in this regard to take speedy measures to provide facilities needed for the cultivation activities. That ends Watch Light.
CIB Janajaya Vasana. Unbelievable discounts and offers throughout August from CIB Janajaya Vasana. Come today itself.
We move on to the world news now. The headlines. Portugal battles wildfires amid third heat wave of the year. China calls on Philippines to move grounded warship from disputed reef. Australian police arrest 19 for child sex abuse offences after FBI tip-off. Firefighters in Portugal are battling to contain wildfires engulfing thousands of hectares amid soaring temperatures. Around 800 personnel attended a fire near the southern town of Odemira overnight yesterday, with more than 1,400 people having to evacuate. At least 9 firefighters have been injured tackling the fires. Temperatures in excess of 40 degrees Celsius or 104 Fahrenheit are expected to hit much of the Iberian Peninsula this week. 3 major fires that scorched hundreds of hectares in Spain over the weekend have been brought under control, but weather alerts remain in place across much of the country. China's foreign ministry has repeated a call for the Philippines to remove a grounded World War II warship which Manila uses as a makeshift military base from a reef in the disputed South China Sea. The renewed demand to tow the ship comes after Philippines at the weekend accused China's Coast Guard of firing water cannon at boats on a mission to resupply the Philippine garrison station on the grounded vessel. Australian authorities have announced child sex abuse charges against 19 men after a tip-off from the United States Federal Bureau of Investigation, or the FBI, uncovered a sophisticated international paedophile network. Australian Federal Police Commander Helen Schneider said today that 13 children had been rescued from the network, which allegedly used encryption and other means to share child exploitation material on the dark web. Criminals using encryption and the dark web are a challenge for law enforcement, but Operation Barkeys shows that when we work together, we can bring alleged offenders before the courts, Schneider said. And to conclude the world news, the headlines again. Portugal battles wildfires amid third heat wave of the year. China calls on Philippines to move grounded warship from disputed reef. Australian police arrest 19 for child sex abuse offences after FBI tip-off. That ends the world news.
Development News is brought to you by
Vacancies for women from Deshakti Lanka for housemaids in Kuwait, Oman and Saudi Arabia for ages 23 to 58 years. Contact number 037 7500 500.
Taking a look at the development news, Beliatta Udayaya Vavar will be reconstructed. The project is being initiated by the Department of Irrigation. 20 million rupees will be spent for the project. Water supply will be provided to the 350 acres of paddy land through the implementation of this project. That ends the development news.
Vacancies for women from Deshakti Lanka for housekeepers, home cooks, caretakers and home nurses in Kuwait, Oman, Saudi Arabia and Singapore for ages 23 to 57 years. Salaries starting from 156,000 rupees. Interviews with foreign agents are now on. Come whether you have a passport or not. Branches, Colombo, Kurunagala, Anuradhapura and Matara. Contact number 037 7500 500.
Moving on to the sports news, another 2 matches of the LPL cricket tournament will be played at the Pallekele Stadium today. Be Love Candy and Gaul Titans teams and Colombo Strikers and Jaffna Kings are to be competed. The first match will begin at 3 p.m. while the second will begin at 7:30 p.m. tonight. Sri Lanka Cricket today announced that 4 players including Kusal Mendis and Chamika Karunaratne have been charged for breaching the LPL Code of Conduct during 2 separate matches of the ongoing Lanka Premier League 2023. 3 players were charged for breaching the LPL Code of Conduct during the match played between Dambulla Ora and Colombo Strikers on the 5th of August 2023 at PICS in Kandy. Hassan Ali of Dambulla Ora was fined 15% of his match fee and given 1 demerit point under clause 2.21 of the LPL Code of Conduct. Kusal Mendis of Dambulla Ora was fined 10% of his match fee along with 1 demerit point under clause 2.21 of the LPL Code of Conduct. Chamika Karunaratne of the Colombo Strikers was fined 30% of his match fees along with 2 demerit points under clause 2.6 of the LPL Code of Conduct. That ends the sports news for now.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු ගින හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
And on the business news, the Ministry of Agriculture has introduced 2 varieties of tomato and beans as well as a mushroom and special yogurt variety. It is expected to obtain 27 tons of harvest by 1 hectare from these varieties. That ends the business news.
Business news. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු ගින හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Moving on to economic news, Treasury bills valued at 180,000 million rupees. The auction will be conducted on Wednesday. It will be issued maturing on 91, 182 and 364 days. The central bank said that these bills can be purchased from primary dealers and licensed commercial banks. That ends economic news. Moving on to the weather report. A few showers will occur in western and Sabaragamu provinces and in Gaul, Matra, Kandy and Nura Elia districts. Showers or thundershowers may occur at a few places in eastern province during the evening or at night. Mainly fair weather will prevail elsewhere over the island. And to conclude this bulletin of news, the headlines again. Releasing water from the Samanala River to the Udawalave Reservoir is underway. The Financial Action Task Force has introduced 40 recommendations to be implemented by all countries. Minister of Power says in Parliament today that measures have been taken to provide water needed for paddy cultivation while maintaining the electricity production continuously. A meeting was held between the Governor of the Iran Central Bank and the Foreign Minister Ali Sabri recently. 10 Indian nationals arrested for poaching in Sri Lankan waters. Portugal battles wildfires amid third heat wave of the year. With that, we conclude this bulletin of news from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.